If you or someone you know has been diagnosed with cancer, you're going to want to tune into this episode. We're talking about using plants as an integrative tool in the treatment of cancer. This is Wellness by Design. I'm your host, Jane Hogan, the Wellness Engineer, and my guest today is Sylvie Beljanski. Now, Sylvie was formerly a lawyer, and she is now carrying on the legacy of her father's work. Her father was a researcher in cancer and discovered plants that could help reduce the growth of cancer cells and so much more. There's so much hope from this research. She's working now with universities and medical doctors in the US. And she also has a conference coming up where you're going to be able to learn from other integrative doctors and get even more hope. Make sure you stay until the end because she tells you about how these treatments can buy you time and what to do with that time. All right, I'll see you inside the episode. Sylvie Beljanski, I'm so happy to have you here on Wellness by Design today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Jane. Delighted to be with you.
Well, you and I met in person earlier this year, and it was such a delight to meet you. And when I heard about what you do, I just wanted to spread the word because
Thank you.
you are carrying on a legacy, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But it's near and dear to your heart. Cancer affects everybody. And so you left a career as a lawyer and started the Beljanski Foundation. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that. Can you share with us your story?
Sure. As I'm sure you know, integrative research when it comes to cancer is sometimes looked upon as controversial. And less nowadays, but 30 years, 50 years later, it was very much the case. And my father was a PhD in molecular biology. He spent his lifetime of research at the Pasteur Institute in Paris, France. So he was very much coming from the conventional playbook. But back in the 60s, when the DNA has just been discovered, the double helix of the DNA has just been discovered by Watson and Crick, the official way of thinking and looking at cancer was that everything was genetic, and the genetic modification, tweeting would help cure everything. And then, of course, scientists were thinking of patenting all the modification and making a lot of money along the way. But my father said, well, if everything was genetic, there would be a stable number of cancer, and we see an increase in the number of cancer. And he was also very sensitive to the increase of pollution and toxic of all kinds that were released in the environment without any kind of testing back in the 60s, 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And he had the idea to look how the environment is actually affecting our DNA. He developed a test called the OncoTest, where he was able to screen a number of molecules to see how they affect the DNA, the double structure, the double helix of the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And he made the observation that the cancer cells, their DNA is always open compared to healthy cells whose DNA is nicely interwoven.
Well, that's interesting.
On cancer cells, their DNA is open. The hydrogen bond supposed to keep the two strands of the DNA together have broken. So there is a lot of space, and this space is linked to increased rate of duplication of the DNA. So he tested the number of molecules and said those are carcinogenic. And he also had the idea to look into nature to find if there would be some plant extracts that would selectively recognize those open loops of the DNA and intercalate between the two strands of the DNA and block selectively the duplication of cancer DNA. And he was able not to find one, but two of those plant extracts. And I grew up seeing, many people coming to our home and they were crying because they had been diagnosed with cancer. And then I thought they were going back home, but they were coming back 2-3 months later with flowers, chocolate. It felt like an ongoing circus of people. And growing up as a selfish little brat, I thought when I grow up, I will never get involved by helping people and their health. This is not for me. And I went to law school. I went to law school. But my father became extremely successful with this approach. He published 133 peer-reviewed papers. He was a very charismatic man. He got the interest of a lot of French doctors who were using with a lot of good results those plant extracts. And now we are in the early 90s. And François Mitterrand, the former French president, got diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer. The official doctors said there is nothing that can be done. Cancer has spread everywhere. We are going to give him some morphine to keep him comfortable, and we have to prepare the country for early elections. But Mitterrand had a mistress who knew about a good doctor who had good results by using my father's products, and Mitterrand started to take the Beljanski products. And against all odds, and for everybody to see, because that was the president, even though in the 90s there was no social media and so on, there was still newspapers and an official TV channel and things like that. Everybody could see that the president was doing better and better. So that infuriated a number of well-positioned people, their something lobbyists, whatever. But the fact is that 9 months after Mitterrand finally passed away, and he was able to finish his second term, 9 months after he passed away, the French government sent a SWAT team with machine guns, dogs, helicopters, and so on, circling over the laboratory. They arrested my father. They radiated my father, saying that they were looking for some plutonium, something that did not make sense at all. But they sent some toxic gas. And 2 months later, my father was diagnosed with advanced myeloid leukemia. The poor man, I mean, he's absolutely thought that if only he had his day in court, he could explain his research, he could defend himself, clear his name. And the judge in place, I mean, would not give him a day in court. So what I did at first was to try to take, my father's legal defense as a lawyer, go to court, and then when the judge would not be responsive, take the case to the European Court of Human Rights, where we won an unanimous case because the French government would not care to explain what they had done and why they had done it. And my father passed without seeing the victory at the European Court of Human Rights. But I quickly realized that the limitation of the legal action. Of course, I mean, my mom was pleased to see that we were winning, but beyond that, it's very small. What was really, really important was to make sure that this knowledge, those plant extracts, would not disappear. When I came to my father's funerals, there were so many people coming to me saying, without your father, I would not be here. I would not have been able to play with my grandchildren. I would not have been able to walk my daughter down the aisle at her wedding. And those things, I really realized how this research was impacting so many lives. It was not just, cancer. It was all those aspects of those lives, those extra years of happiness. And that's when I decided that was going to find a way, but carry on with this research. And I created the Beljanski Foundation as a 501c3 here in New York City in 99. I found an American doctor, very open-minded, who tried those plant extracts on the patient of his who had advanced pancreatic cancer. He said, the poor fellow doesn't have much to lose. Let's give it a try. And then 2 weeks later, he told me, well, the poor fellow is doing better. Do you have more product? I want to try on more patients. And then he told me, well, I have now enough cases. I'm going to publish. And I was so happy. The first American paper, I gave a copy to everybody I knew, including my banker. And it turned out that the banker was a patient of Dr. Aaron Katz at Columbia University. And then Dr. Katz called me, and that's how we started to work with Columbia University.
Wow. Sylvie. Okay. So your dad, I just going to try to sum it up for people. So your dad, through his research, discovered some plant extracts that basically stopped the cancer cells from the rapid reproduction.
Yes. So those plant extracts, Paupera or Wolffia vomitoria, are able to selectively recognize the cancer cells. They penetrate those plant extracts, which happen to be naturally fluorescent. So you can see under the microscope how they penetrate cancer cells, and they induce apoptosis of cancer cells, meaning the death of the cancer cells.
The death of them. Okay.
On the other hand, they surround healthy cells without penetrating them. So no toxicity, no side effects for healthy cells, but death selectively on cancerous cells. And since it means, they make the difference between cancer cells, healthy cells, you stop thinking in terms of lung cancer, prostate cancer, ovarian cancer. They will recognize those cells which have a cancer DNA, these open loops where the hydrogen bonds have broken. And so that makes plant extracts, which are really basically working on all kinds of cancer cells. My father tested on 16 different kinds of cancer cells and was also able to show no cytotoxicity for healthy cells. So over the years, we have been able at the Beljanski Foundation to work on. We cannot, of course, to work on all kinds of cancer cells because there are as many cancer cells as organs. It's not possibly, it would be just too expensive. But we have been able to work on ovarian and pancreatic cancer stem cells, prostate cancer stem cells, and now we are wrapping up a beautiful study on breast cancer stem cells. We have been also able to work on different stages of cancer, from inflammation to full-blown cancer to advanced cancer, which does not respond to hormonal treatment. And now we are working on cancer stem cells. And what we see is that there are different mechanisms of action which are involved, but every time those little plant extracts find a way to be useful and to destroy those cancerous cells. It's just multiple mechanisms of action, always used for good, never for toxicity. And we also have been able to confirm the synergy with chemotherapies, which is very important because people generally don't want to choose, especially when they have a serious cancer. I mean, but even when there is resistance to chemotherapies, we have those little plant extracts will continue to be effective against those resistant cells. So beautiful things. And we were studying some ovarian cancer, and we could see that none of the mice we were working with had developed metastasis. And that has now led us to do research on cancer stem cells, which are those cells which are not affected to chemotherapy. Chemotherapy doesn't destroy cancer stem cells because they are slow dividing. So those cells are within the tumor, they are embryonic, and they are, let's say, the generation 2. They are the future metastasis, the future cancer relapse. And the chemotherapy just doesn't see them. And that's why you have 20% an average, and depends, all cancers are not equal, but let's say an average of 20% of cancer that will come back. And that means also 100% of people are concerned to be the one whose cancer is going to come back. So if we can, help those people from day one of cancer diagnosis, help them, fight in synergy with their conventional treatment, fight cancer cells, and also give them the peace of mind, thinking that they are also addressing cancer stem cells. That's huge. And that makes, everything I am doing, I feel blessed I have the opportunity to do that.
What a change from being a lawyer. It sounds like you're like a PhD in cancer now. Sylvia, I think I interrupted you, and I didn't quite catch, like, why did the government come in and do this to your father? Was it your father's lab, or why did they do that, or whoever do it? Maybe it wasn't the government.
The answer is that I don't know. I don't know who gave the order. And I can only suspect that it was some people who just did not want to see something natural, something integrative, get some recognition, and officially do better than the drugs that were available.
Again, this is a thing with a lot of integrative or holistic type of approaches, natural approaches. There's not a lot of money to be made. So then funding the research is an issue, right? There is a lot of money to be made when people are on drugs, drugs for life or expensive drugs.
Yeah, follow the money, of course.
Yeah.
And pharmaceutical companies, it's like tobacco companies. They have a lot of money, and they don't like, even if the market for natural ingredients is very, very small, never going to take over pharmaceutical companies. They don't like to see that there are other options. They don't like it. They don't like to see that something else can be science backed, and they like to destroy everything. And they destroyed the work of my father, I would say, before it could be confirmed by independent academic institutions. And it was easy at this point to say it's hocus pocus, it's not proven, and just rubbish. And that's why I felt so important to have the independent academic validation.
Yeah. It's amazing. So are there, is there a particular plant, or is it different plants?
So there are two plant extracts mainly. He focused on, he's screened a lot, but he felt that two had the most potential, and it's Paupera, which is coming from South America, and Revolfia vomitoria coming from West Africa. Revolfia vomitoria is quite well known in Ayurvedic medicine but we remove the reserpine because the reserpine can be toxic and has been associated with some actually inducing breast cancer back in the 80s. So what we is using is a very purified extract of Rauwolfia vomitoria, which is rich in alstonine and is actually very effective, just like flavoperirine, which is the active of the Pao Pereira plant.
So how readily available, you're based out in New York and you're working with, you said, Columbia University. And
Over the years, we have also worked with Kansas University. We have also had a clinical trial at Cancer Treatment Centers of America. So,
okay.
I mean, we have, depending on the organ and the research program, we have worked with different academic institutions.
And how readily available are these compounds to the general population?
Yes,
Right.
well, for the compounds, as a lawyer, my first thing was to make sure that there is no approval from the FDA for dietary supplements, but new dietary ingredients which have not been largely commercialized before 94. There is a filing that has to be done with the FDA. So I did that. So they are available as dietary ingredient with the proper filing with the FDA. And if you go to Maison Beljanski, they are available as dietary supplements.
Okay, so they're called dietary supplements.
Yeah.
Yep, you're not
Yeah.
making any claims
So,
on.
so if you go to the website of Maison Beljanski, you will not find any claim, any therapeutic allegation. If you want to go to the research, you have to go to the website of the Beljanski Foundation, but there you will not find any product. That's the way.
So we'll put the links in there for Maison Beljanski and also for the Beljanski Foundation. You're wearing a lot of hats, Sylvie.
Well, I mean, you need to have product in order to conduct research. You cannot do that out of thin air. So, I mean, things go hand in hand, actually.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, what other, it sounds like you've gone beyond, your father's research, that the research is continuing and expanding. You mentioned about new discoveries with cancer stem cells. Are there other plant compounds as well that have been discovered, or other treatments that have been discovered?
My father also developed remarkable little fragments of RNA that has nothing to do with the messenger RNA of the COVID vaccines and so on. This is really a nutritional approach to help feed the bone marrow and help the bone marrow create a new generation of white blood cells and platelets. So that's very, very helpful for people undergoing chemotherapy because chemotherapy is destroying cancer stem cells, is also destroying as a collateral damage the white blood cells and platelets, which are the core of our immune system. But those cells are very fast dividing, just like cancerous cells, so they get destroyed by chemotherapy. And then when you have, chemotherapy, you have nausea, your gut line, the lining of your gut gets damaged. You do not have the proper assimilation of good nutrients. So your bone marrow is famished, depleted, and you are not able to create a decent number of white blood cells and platelets. So those little fragments of RNA, which are coming from a bacteria, which is a natural host of the intestine, you take that under the tongue to so the enzymes do not degrade this assimilation, and it goes directly to the blood and to the bone marrow. And within 24 hours, you see a new generation of white blood cells and platelets. We were able to have a clinical trial with that at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and it's a beautiful publication. Patients, their bone marrow was in better shape after several rounds of chemotherapy than when they started. So
That's amazing.
yeah. And everybody on the chemotherapy should know about that, because again, there is no side effects, there is no complication. The clinical trial was an escalation dose that went from 20 to 40 to 60 to 80 milligrams. No side effects, no complication.
So what you're saying is these compounds that you're talking about, they're integrative. It's not like choose this or that, choose conventional.
No, look,
or
the
Work
RNA fragments
together.
are designed to be integrated. It's really food to be taken during chemotherapy. It's if you do not have chemotherapy destroying your white blood cells and platelets, you don't need that specific food.
Right. So you started in France, obviously. Now you're in the United States. Are these compounds available? So if the Maison Beljanski, do they ship anywhere in the world, or is it just
Yes.
within the US?
Anywhere in the world, yes. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's great to know, because I know people in my audience are from all over the place, so they might be interested. There are so many people with cancer. Everyone is touched by cancer. If they don't have it, someone they know has it. I mean, I just think about my own family. We've had people with cancer. Obviously, my father-in-law, my sister-in-law, so far, my grandparents, so it's just so prevalent. Okay, so you've got this foundation going, and I know you've got an event coming up as well, right?
Yeah.
You've got and this is your third event. So can we hear a little bit about that?
Yeah. So in order to fund the research, we are organizing those conferences, which serve also as fundraiser for the next round of research. So we are going to host a 3-day conference in San Diego, June 26 to 29. And we have a beautiful lineup of speakers, of integrative doctors coming from all around the United States, and also some Mexican clinics, cancer Mexican clinics, who are coming and give lectures. So the idea is to create a community. There is also a gala, which is the core of the fundraiser event. So the goal is to present the beautiful research that we are just wrapping up on breast cancer stem cells, and ask support to fund similar research on prostate cancer stem cells. We assume we are going to have also beautiful results, but I mean, you have to do the research. You just cannot, assume when it comes to science. So that's the idea, year after year, to fund research, do the research, present the research. So many organizations, they are always asking for money, and then you never see the results. I mean, what we want to do at the Beljanski Foundation is always make the research available. If you go to the website of the foundation, beljanski.org, all the publications are available. So people can download those publications, start conversations with their doctors. And also, I mean, create a community of people who really understand what we are doing and love the results.
So you, before we hit record, you did mention that although this is a live event, in-person event in San Diego, there is an online component as well. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. There is a live stream available, and then there will be a replay, but the live stream is available. So people who cannot come to San Diego can still be part of this event.
Okay, that's wonderful. We'll share the link for that as well, so that if people either want to go to it and be there live, or if they want to watch the live stream or get recordings afterwards, they can as well.
Yeah.
So,
I think those conferences are really important for people who have been diagnosed with cancer, because it's an easy way in 3 days to extend your universe of people you may know, of doctors who may resonate with you, of asking questions, of uh, listening to other things that have, maybe a aha moment that will put you on the road of remission.
mhm. And I think one thing that is so amazing about the work that you're doing, and other people in the integrated cancer space, is just giving people hope, because when people get a cancer diagnosis, they often lose hope. And I mean, I haven't had it, so I don't understand what it feels like, but I know that for a lot of people it feels like it's a death sentence. And what you're doing with the work that you're doing, you're giving people
Yeah.
hope.
Uh,
Doesn't have to be.
when I give, a conference, I like to say those little plant extracts are going to work at the cellular level. They are going to give you time. They are going to give time to your body, but you are much more than a bunch of cells. So use this time to understand why you got sick in the first place, and try to heal that soul, that body, from the sources of what created the assault in the first place. And
Mm,
that's where the real healing, the long-term healing happens. If you just address the body, it's like conventional medicine. You are destroying cancer cells without addressing the cause. And of course, I mean, if you don't address the cause, it's like weeds, it's going to come
mhm,
back. So if you have the means to treat your body respectfully, and destroy cancer cells in a gentle way, take the time to heal, to be an honest analysis of what happened in your life and how you got there.
mm. It's so interesting. I'm sure you probably know Dr. Nasha Winters.
Yes.
Yeah. And I interviewed her for this podcast as well. And we were talking about the similarities between people with cancer and people with chronic pain. That there's often these emotional, I would say almost always, emotional components to it, that the body gets the message that it's not safe on some level, or it's not a happy place on
Yeah.
some level. And that then, for chronic pain people, it turns on protection form in the form of pain. For cancer, maybe it's like it just lets the
Oh, yeah.
hostile. I mean,
I,
because there's always cancer cells in our body, right? But what makes them multiply quickly? Maybe it's like you lose your police force,
exactly,
when you're not
exactly
doing
what
well.
happens. Yes, exactly. The immune system is giving up and is not recognizing those cells that should be destroyed, and allows them to grow and fester.
Mm. I love that perspective, and I actually didn't know you were going to go there. That it buys you time, but then you really do need to go back to the root cause of what in your life resulted. I mean, people might not like this idea of and it's certainly not to like put blame on yourself that I caused this, but circumstances in your life and how you respond to
Yeah.
them are,
Rather than I caused that, I said I allowed myself to
mm,
get there.
yeah. And we can make a change when you understand that actually you are very powerful. You can
Yeah.
begin to make changes. So I love your message. I'm wondering what you would suggest. It can be in terms of cancer or not, but what would be one thing someone could do today that's going to shift them into a healing state? What would you say a tiny action someone could take today is?
Well, I would say, very often doctors, when there is a cancer diagnosis, they say, I'm going to clear my calendar, and we are going to take care of you, and we are going to have the surgery. You are going to have the surgery next week, and then the following week you start the chemotherapy or the radiation. And people are kind of, they give up on themselves. They surrender to the doctor who said, I am going to clear my calendar, so they feel obligated to be grateful to the doctor. And they are actually, it's a sale. Recognize that it's a sale process. They are pushing on you surgery and other treatments without letting you the time to think and to process and to look for other options, to look if this is really the road you want to take. And what I would like people to know is that most cancers are slow progressing. It's really important to ask, is the tumor fast progressing? Is it slow progressing? Most cancers are slow progressing, especially if you are diagnosed at stage 1 or 2. You have the time to think. You have the time to process. You have the time to read and go to a conference. For example, you will hear about 30 doctors, but there are summits also online. There will be, other perspective, and think of what is going to be best for you. The best treatment is the one you are aligned with. If you go like a torture to some treatment, how are you? So it's going to be another emotional toxic on your soul.
And that stress is not going to help the immune system.
Exactly.
So make sure that you are aligned with what you're choosing your path to be.
Exactly. And take the time to choose wisely.
I love that. So we're going to share those links, and I love what you're doing, Sylvie. Carrying on your father's legacy is I don't even know what to say. It's huge, it's profound, and what a gift to honor him in that way, but also to help so many people and not let that work that he did, the discoveries he made, just go with him. You've helped them flourish and get even bigger in the world. So I love what you're doing. Thank you so much for that work.
Thank you very much.
The guest on the podcast today.
Thank you, Jane.
And to all the people watching and listening, do you know someone, or maybe you have a cancer diagnosis? There's another perspective. There is hope. Share this with them. Go attend the conference, either in live or online. Learn some things. Give yourself some options, and then it really could change your outcome. So go ahead and do that.
May I add something?
Yes.
Yes. So there is 15% of all tickets with the promo code the Wellness Engineer.
Oh, thank you. Okay, there you go. Another 15% off, and we'll have that code.
Tickets with the promo code the Wellness Engineer.
Beautiful. Thank you for that too, Sylvie.
Thank you.
So everyone watching, listening, thank you for being here. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think of this topic, what you learned, what stood out for you. Take some action today on that, and I will see you again on the next episode of Wellness by Design.